When Daniel walked out of our front door that cloudy October morning, he didn't slam it. He didn't even look back. He just grabbed his duffel bag, adjusted his jacket like he always did before heading out to the office, and said, "I'll be in touch about the divorce papers." That was it. No tears, no anger, just a flat sentence, a line that cut right through the center of my chest like a scalpel. For 17 years, Daniel and I had built a life together. We had a mortgage, a history of Sunday breakfasts, shared Netflix passwords, and our 11-year-old son, Matthew. The decay wasn't sudden. Our love didn't explode, it eroded. Day by day, tiny silences widened, gentle disagreements sharpened into friction. And when he finally told me he didn't love me anymore, I felt relief and devastation swirl inside me like a tornado that didn't know which direction to spin. Matthew was at school when Daniel left. Thank God. I didn't want him to see that. I didn't want him to watch his father reduce our family into a footnote. I spent that entire day cleaning the house as if it would erase the echo of Daniel's departure. I rearranged the living room furniture. I vacuumed the carpet twice. I even threw out the half-used bottle of his shampoo just to feel like I was in control of something. When I picked Matthew up that evening, he sat quietly in the back seat, fiddling with the zipper on his backpack. I kept glancing at him through the rearview mirror. He looked so much like Daniel it hurt, same hazel eyes, same subtle dimple on the left cheek when he half smiled. Only Matthew smiled less these days. I didn't tell him that night. I couldn't. I made him macaroni and cheese from scratch because that's what he liked, and I let him stay up an hour later watching his favorite superhero cartoon. I stared at him when he wasn't looking, memorizing the way his small hands gripped the remote control, the way he furrowed his brow when the villain showed up. It wasn't until Saturday morning that he asked, "Where's Dad?" I had just poured cereal into his bowl. I froze, spoon in hand, milk carton halfway back to the fridge. Taking some time away," I said, keeping my voice light. Matthew squinted. "Like a business trip?" "No. More like a grown-up timeout." "Did he do something bad?" "No, honey. It's just, sometimes grown-ups stop getting along, and they need space." He nodded slowly, processing it with a maturity that shook me. Then he picked up his spoon and began eating like nothing happened. But everything had changed. Over the next few weeks, our world twisted into something unfamiliar. Daniel came by on Sundays to take Matthew for ice cream or to the park. He didn't come inside. We kept our conversations brief, logistics only. Pick-up time. Drop-off time. No eye contact. It was like interacting with a distant colleague I barely remembered liking. At night, I'd lie in bed and stare at the ceiling, thinking about all the things I could have done differently. I wondered if I should have cooked more, said I love you more often, worn makeup on Tuesdays, asked him how he was really doing instead of assuming I knew. But blame is a funny thing. It doesn't sit on one side of the scale. It jumps back and forth like a restless child, tipping things in every direction until you're exhausted from trying to find balance. One evening, Matthew came home from school with a permission slip for a weekend camping trip. He was bouncing with excitement. "Can you come with me, Mom? It's a parents' weekend." I hesitated. I hadn't been camping in years. Daniel had always been the one to do the outdoor stuff. But I couldn't say no to Matthew, especially now. So I signed the form, bought a new sleeping bag, and braced myself for a weekend of bugs and burnt marshmallows. We drove 2 hours to the state park. Matthew sang along to songs on the radio while I navigated winding roads, my hands tense on the wheel. When we arrived, the forest felt alive, like it was breathing. I hadn't realized how long it had been since I'd stood in real nature. The air was crisp, the leaves were fiery shades of red and orange, and the smell of pine reminded me of being a child. That first night, Matthew and I sat by the fire with other parents and their kids. I listened to conversations about science fairs and new iPad apps, but my mind kept drifting. I felt alone in a crowd of cheerful strangers. Later, in the tent, I lay awake next to Matthew, staring at the nylon ceiling, listening to the rustle of leaves and the occasional hoot of an owl. "Mom," he whispered. "Yeah, baby. Are you sad?" I turned to him. His eyes were wide open in the dark. "A little," I admitted. But I'm okay. There was a long pause. I miss Dad, he said. I know, sweetie. I do too. Then he rolled over and whispered the sentence that changed everything. Maybe you and Dad just forgot how to love each other. Like when I forget how to spell a word. But then my teacher helps me remember. I didn't respond right away. I couldn't. My throat tightened with emotion. This child, with his simple words, had cut through all the adult noise, the pride, the resentment, the history, and boiled it down to something so honest it stunned me. Forgotten love. Was it possible? Could we really forget how to love someone? The next morning, I felt different. Lighter, maybe. Or perhaps just open to the idea that not everything was lost. When we got home Sunday evening, I found myself pulling out old photo albums. Matthew and I looked through them together, wedding photos, beach trips, Christmas mornings. His little fingers traced the edges of pictures as if trying to bring them back to life. Later that night, after Matthew had gone to bed, I did something I hadn't done in months. I called Daniel. Hey, I said when he answered. Hey. Everything okay with Matt? Yeah. He's asleep. I wanted to talk. There was silence on the line. I've been thinking, I continued. About us. About everything. He sighed. Claire, I don't think this is a good idea. Just listen, I said quickly. Matthew said something this weekend. He said maybe we forgot how to love each other. Like forgetting how to spell a word. And I don't know. It just hit me. More silence. I don't know if we can fix it, I admitted. But maybe we owe it to him and to ourselves to try. He exhaled slowly. I don't know either. But I miss him. And I miss parts of us. That was all we said. But it was enough. In the weeks that followed, we didn't jump back into marriage counseling or move back in together. We started small. Coffee at a cafe while Matthew was at school. A walk in the park. Then a dinner where we talked about our mistakes without pointing fingers. We were two people trying to relearn something we used to speak fluently. It wasn't magic. There were setbacks. Old wounds reopened. But there were also small wins, genuine laughter, shared glances that felt like old songs rediscovered. And through it all, Matthew watched. Hope quietly blooming in his eyes. 6 months later, Daniel moved back in. Not because everything was perfect, but because we had chosen to fight not against each other, but for what we once had. Sometimes, I think back to that night in the tent, when Matthew whispered those simple, brilliant words. I wonder if he knew what he was doing, or if he was just being a child, seeing truth where adults saw complexity.